The video footage you just saw shows 3 different offshore oil and gas developments. Or more specifically, you just saw 3 different semi-submersible rigs used to drill for oil and natural gas in the deep waters offshore of places like the Gulf of Mexico, Brazil, and West Africa. However, what's really important isn't that 10-second video clip, but what it represents. Specifically, over the next few days, I'm unveiling some of my latest research on global oil markets through a series of free video presentations. I'll explain why that 5-year-old video I just showed you of oil rigs has me convinced the coming surge in oil prices will shock global markets and completely blindside most investors who have become accustomed to falling oil prices over the past 4 years. In short, I'll explain in the simplest terms possible why I believe oil prices are headed back to at least $100 a barrel over the next 12 to 24 months. I'll tell you exactly why my research confirms that $100 a barrel is almost inevitable due to some fateful decisions made over the past few years by the world's largest energy companies. And depending on decisions these same companies and governments make over the next year or two, oil prices could actually head a lot higher than $100 a barrel. We may even see Brent oil prices back above their historic summer 2008 highs around $150 a barrel by around 2021 or so. I promise you these trends will have serious consequences for your portfolio and quite possibly your way of life over the next few years. At this point, you might be wondering, what kind of consequences am I talking about exactly? Well, for starters, the last 2 times the world saw trends in global commodity markets and the global economic cycle line up like they are today, stock market volatility surged as much as 4 or 5-fold from low to high. Annual returns from the US stock market averaged a little under 5.6%, about 1/2 the post-war average return of 11.3%, which shattered the dangerous illusion that buy and hold and market indexing were the surefire road to long-term wealth and a comfortable retirement. The US experienced its worst recession since the Great Depression of the 1930s. The stock market saw declines of 48.2%, 23.61%, 50.5%, and even 57.69% over periods ranging from just a few months out to about 2 years. Oil prices surged an average of more than 15-fold. We're not expecting a move that big this time, but a 6-fold increase from the 2016 lows to around $150 a barrel is possible, as I said, by 2021. Some very popular investment trends and fads were exposed as bubbles, costing many investors some serious cash. Commodity price inflation and shortages sparked riots and protests in some countries, including developed countries like the United States, amid the rising costs of energy, food, and housing. Before I go any further, I must warn you there's absolutely nothing you or I can do to change this. There's no big oil field discovery out there that can change the world supply picture enough to dent the coming oil-led commodity upcycle. There's no new technology on the horizon that's going to stop the big jump in oil prices. At least nothing that's going to be here fast enough. And despite what you may have heard or read in the mainstream media, electric vehicles like the Tesla Model 3 cannot save us from $100 a barrel oil prices. Actually, the scariest thing is that my research suggests all the hype surrounding electric vehicles and self-driving or autonomous cars may actually make the rise in oil prices even worse and more painful over the next 2 to 3 years. And there's no country inside or outside of OPEC that can fill the $786.3 billion air pocket in global oil markets that I've uncovered through my research. Not Saudi Arabia, and certainly not Iran or Russia. Not a new nuclear deal with Iran that allows the country to keep pumping and exporting crude oil. And this call has nothing specifically to do with Syria, Iraq, Islamic State terrorism, or North Korea either. It's certainly nothing to do with recent trade squabbles between the US and China, US domestic politics, or even geopolitical headline risks we've been hearing so much about. Listen, I've spent many months and well over $100,000 studying the trends I'm about to reveal in this presentation, and I guarantee they're very real, though I'm fairly certain you haven't heard or read much about them in the mainstream or even the specialized financial media. I've been tracking these trends from company to company and project to project ever since the big downturn in oil prices that started about 4 years ago in the summer of 2014. You could say that the oil price collapse of the past few years actually sowed the seeds of the coming up cycle in crude that I'm talking about. However, just this year, here in 2018, I've seen a handful of trigger events that I've been looking for. Now, these triggers have moved the current oil market situation from simply troubling to downright worrying and urgent. As I'll explain in a minute, I believe that with these triggers now in place, the trends I'm about to explain could unfold very quickly and much faster than most expect. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that a few well-informed investors will make some serious cash out of the coming commodity boom, while many others will find their portfolios, the income received from their portfolios, and their hard-earned retirement savings devastated. Listen, I know some of you may be a little skeptical of my forecasts, or you might even think I'm exaggerating. And I must warn you, some of this presentation and the presentations I'll be releasing over the next few days are very controversial, and they don't fit with some of the popular narratives and conventional wisdom you've probably heard about in the mainstream and financial media. However, I promise you that I certainly am not asking you to just take my word for it. I'm creating a series of video presentations that I'll be releasing over the next few days about oil and the coming commodity boom. In these presentations, you'll discover some of the key trends I've uncovered in my research, and I'll explain exactly what's happening so you can examine the evidence I've assembled and challenge every single one of my facts and conclusions. And then you can decide for yourself if I'm for real or just full of hot air. However, before I get into all that, I should probably back up for just a few minutes and introduce myself. Hello, my name is Elliot Gu. A little over 5 years ago, I founded Energy and Income Advisor, an energy-focused research service which has quickly grown to serve tens of thousands of investors located all over the world. Over my close to 20-year career analyzing and investing in global energy markets, I've also appeared on CNBC, Bloomberg TV, and Fox News, and as a guest or host on numerous financial radio shows. I've written columns and articles on energy for some of the largest circulation publications in the U.S. The official magazine for the 2008 G8 Summit in Hokkaido, Japan, even called me, quote, the world's leading energy strategist. You may or may not have heard of me or my firm because of some pretty high-profile bearish calls we made on crude and energy stocks over the past 4 years, starting in the spring and summer of 2014. We warned investors to sell deepwater contract driller Seadrill, proppant sand mining firms like Hi-Crush Partners and Emerge Energy Services, even producers like Linn Energy and Chesapeake Energy, along with a host of other energy stocks that have since collapsed. To my knowledge, no other research firm in the world can match our record of correctly forecasting the collapse in oil prices to below $30 a barrel and the carnage that will result for so many of the most popular energy companies and master limited partnerships or MLPs. And no other firm can match our track record of warning investors to avoid the false dawn rallies for oil prices and energy stocks in the summer of 2015 and in early 2017, when some so-called experts and hedge funds lost billions by buying into the group too early. However, I didn't create this presentation to boast or brag. Rather, I reference our success and experience calling the big decline in oil prices over the past 4 years because we believe that we're now on the cusp of a major turn higher in energy markets. And while we can do nothing to avoid the jump in commodity price inflation, because this cycle, repeated many times over literally centuries of data, is inevitable, I have some very good news for you. We've identified a handful of surprisingly simple steps you can take to avoid the dangerous consequences of commodity price inflation, protect your assets, and make some serious cash on the coming commodity boom. And over the next few days, I'll also be outlining a handful of the specific profit steps we're recommending our readers take right now, before these trends become obvious to everyone. Look, I don't make these forecasts lightly, and I certainly have no desire to just scare you. I decided to open up some of my premium research on oil and commodity markets free of charge this week because I believe some of my conclusions are too important, far too important, to your financial well-being to just hide behind a paywall. As I said, my research confirms that after 4 years of pain, oil prices and many energy stocks are in the early stages of a major new upcycle. I'm not exaggerating when I tell you that the coming boom will rival the big run-up in energy stocks between 2002 and 2008, and will likely push oil prices well north of $100 a barrel. My analysis suggests that we'll see 50% or more of additional upside in select energy stocks over the next 12 months, including some high-yield master limited partnerships, exploration and production firms, and oil services stocks. And the ultimate gains could be a lot larger than that. The last time the cycle lined up like this, energy stocks produced gains of 317.3% over a 10-year time frame, trouncing the 32.9% gain in the S&P 500 by a close to 10-to-1 margin. Listen, I know this may all sound pretty sensational, but I can assure you that in my nearly 20 years of covering global energy markets, I've never been so worried about the implications of rising energy and commodity prices as I am today. I believe you should be worried too. And I've not seen this many opportunities to actually profit from the commodities boom in many years. It's really only the second time in 2 decades the cycle is lined up for the sector as it is today. Watch your inbox because over the next few days I'll be producing and releasing a series of presentations and reports concerning my most recent research on oil markets and some of the profit steps I'm recommending to readers of Energy and Income Advisor right now. I could believe it could be some of the most important and potentially most profitable information you've received in years. I promise I won't waste your time. Watch your email inbox because I'll be making some more of my premium research available over the next few days, and the trends I'm following are happening quickly, so you won't want to miss out. Thank you.